Hello, I'm Amy. I'm a drama therapist, and I work a lot with parts, different parts of self, using models including John Rowan's Subpersonality and the IFS model by Richard Schwartz. I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I work with that as a drama therapist using Sue Jennings' model, Embodiment, Projection, Role, or the EPR framework. So embodiment is the first way of looking at parts that I want to think about. And this is about what's going on in the body, the different sensations. So do I feel like I've got a part that sits on my shoulder weighing me down? Do I feel like I've got a part in my throat that's just strangling me? Is there a part that's like butterflies in my stomach that just is always constantly turned up? Another way of working with parts in this framework is to really focus in on the sensations of the body. What's cold, what's warm, what's hot, what's chilly, what's twitchy, sharp, dull, itchy, shaky, trembly, tingly, hard, soft, stuck, jittery, relaxed, calm, peaceful, empty, full, flowing, spreading, strong, tight, tense, dizzy, fuzzy, blurry, numb, prickly, jumpy, owie, tearful, goosebumpy, light, heavy, open, tickly, cool, silky, still, clammy, and loose. That's a list from somatic experiencing, but it's really looking then at what's going on in the body. Where do I feel different things? Am I numb somewhere? Am I in pain somewhere? Is there a part of me that just feels really tense and can't let go? And go to that part of the body and actually ask, is there a part associated with that? And if so, what does that part want to tell me? Can that part speak? Can it say, I am the clenched fist and can it then speak from that? So that's an embodied way of working with parts. The next thing I want to share is a projection way, and I'm going to share my second screen for this. So the way that this works is, as a drama therapist, I use lots of different equipment. I'm going to show you different ways, so please don't be put off if you don't have access to these specific things. But this is a sand tray. I work a lot with sand. It's quite tactile. It's quite pliable. It can be 3D, it can be 2D, it can be lots of different things. And then I use different projective objects. So here I'm going to use some toys. Maybe you've got toys in your house, maybe you don't, but fear not, I will come up with some other options for you in just a second. But here it's then thinking, okay, well, what is the part? Maybe I've got two parts over here that are like the big pig and the little pig. Maybe I've got a part over here who's just drowning and can't quite keep their head above. And actually, maybe I want to make that even worse and bury them a bit more. Maybe there's a bit over here that feels really strong, but nobody's really listening to it. And then maybe over here, there's the critic that's just always constantly saying, like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you should be better. Whatever it is, but you sort of lay out your own parts and sort of sculpt them in terms of who you've chosen for which part, where they are in relation to each other in the space. And then if you're using sand also, there's the option of, are they elevated, are they buried? So there's quite a lot of options for that. But if you don't have sand, that doesn't mean you can't do projection. So here's another alternative. I've got, this one's just a tea tray. And I'm going to use some stones. So I feel like there's a part of me here that's just full of holes and just not good enough. And there's a part of me over here which is just really spiky and pushes everyone away. And there's this other part that's just really feels quite cracked and just wrinkly. But then I've got this part that's just so smooth and so centered. And that just keeps everything together. And I just wish more people would listen to that. And there's this part over here that just feels really shiny and feels like there's lots of potential, but doesn't quite know how to interact with the system. Whatever it is, you can start to look at the different parts. And again, are they in relation to each other? Maybe there's two parts that are very close together, or one that's covering another one somehow. But you're starting to think about, what does this represent for me? How does this represent my parts? Third way of projection, this is the final on projection, is to look at images. So I've got here some postcards which I'll look at, and I might say, oh yes, I feel like there's a part of me that's like this dog that just keeps on trying to protect everything. And there's a part of me that's like this mountain, which is just feels like everything's impossible and I can't do anything. And there's this part of me that feels like it's really old and just ancient and has all this wisdom to share, but doesn't know how. And there's this other part of me that just, all the other parts just treat it like it's silly and don't really pay attention to anything. But the main part is the one that's sort of in front of them all, this really protective part that just is always like trying to keep me safe and build this wall and push everyone away. So these are just some random postcards that I've got. Maybe you've got postcards, maybe you've got tarot cards, maybe you've got some printers and you can print some images off the internet. Maybe you could even do some art yourself and draw your own image cards. Another version of projection that I've seen that I really love is the use of a handbag. So open a woman's handbag and all of those things that are inside, the sort of the purse and the phone and the makeup bag and the random stuff that's in the bottom, like which parts are these? What do they have to say? But you can use anything for this. You can use objects in the household. You can use things that you feel attached to and you don't even know why. You can use little ornaments, anything. You could use food packets if you wanted to. What do these have to say? What parts do they represent? So that's embodiment and that's projection. The third way of working with parts is role. So that might be people that you know, or it might be people from fiction, or it might be roles that you want to take on and play. So people that you know, it might be actually, I've got my mum's voice in my head. And this is what my mum's voice in my head says to me. And I will speak from that and say, I am my mother and I think that I need to. And you start the monologue from that way. It might be my hero is Wonder Woman, fictional role. And I wish that I was able to save everyone, but I'm just not. I just feel that everything I try just goes wrong, but I keep on trying because I know there's goodness and I keep on working towards that. It might be that the part is a role that you've played. So I am the boss at work and I cannot get on top of the deadlines. And everything I try, I just know it's going to come back to me in my appraisal. And I keep on going, but other people aren't listening. And I just wish I had a better team. And it feels so overwhelming. And I just wish I was better. But I don't want anyone to see that. I want to pretend that I'm able to achieve all this. And it's just so tricky. And however it goes, I'm not saying that these are the monologues that your parts will have, but it's thinking of what is the story for my parts. So that's how to use Sue Jennings' embodiment projection role to look at parts. So just to recap, we had embodiment, which is looking at what's going on in my body. What are the feelings? What are the sensations? Am I in pain? Is there a part that's numb? What's the part want to say? There's projection, which looks at what objects can I project my parts into. And whatever those objects are doesn't really matter, but it's giving them some kind of symbolic quality to say this represents this part because. And you might choose very similar things for very different reasons. So if you've got two grey stones, they might still be two very different parts, or there might be something similar about those parts in the choosing of the similar looking stones. However it is for you, there isn't a right or wrong. The third one is role, and it's either looking at roles you play, roles of people that are influential to you, or fictional roles from film, from TV, from books. Often with role, if there's something that draws you to them, then there's a part that's connected to it, and it's good to explore the connections between that. I hope this has been useful. There's so many other ways to get into parts, but these are some of my favorite ones. So I look forward to hearing about how you're using parts and what works for you.